जो नया डोंगल है तो ये भी गड़बड़ कर रहा है। ओके ठीक है। Good morning, United Kingdom. Morning. And today is Wednesday, the middle of the week, the day that comes after Tuesday and just before Thursday, the day that is called Wednesday, and it is the middle of the week. And we've got Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, the man, the icon, the mover, the hoover, the shaker, the maker, the milkshake. He's on, as usual, giving us excellent advice on how to fix our property and business matters. A man who has a keen sense of discipline and foresight in his businesses, keeps his eye on the money all the time. He's mentioned once, I think, in one of his journals, he said, I'm like an accountant when it comes to my business. Even the accountant doesn't know as much as I do about numbers. So it shows that it's important to be diligent with your numbers when it comes to business, just like everybody else has been saying in the past 3-4 weeks. Keeping your eye on the numbers, being very aware of the bottom line, knowing when to bail out and when to exit and when to enter markets. That's very important. And I think, Lakhi Singh, with the experience you have, this would be possibly the type of advice you give lots of your clients, knowing when to enter and exit a market. Is that right, Lakhi Singh? Good morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct. I think what we discussed with Ninder Singh for the last couple of weeks, and also touched upon the topic with Bob Singh, it's critical to stress test not just a new venture that you're looking at, but any business that you're running. Just keep it stress test to make sure that it works. No matter how good you think it is in this market, just expect the unexpected.
Excellent advice there. Expect the unexpected, and obviously keep your eye on the numbers, as he says. So, Lakhi Singh, topic we have is focus on the vision. Keep your eye on the vision and trust the process. So we spoke about this a few times, keeping your eye on the vision. What is your vision for the future? I know we've got a lot of uncertainty and the market's very volatile. And by the way, we have a special guest on today, Mohsin Ravjani, a gentleman who has seen a lot of different environments in his life. He's seen lots of different turmoil and business ups and downs, and now he is heading a quite unique business that focuses on trying to get people rehoused and get them back into the job market. Very cause-led, I would say, gentlemen. Very flexible, very relaxed. Has his eye on the business as well. So yes, Lakhi, what is your vision? Where are you taking your business, and where do you see the future? And do you trust the process? Are you trusting your ability to let the process manage itself?
Yes, I think I am. I think you have to adapt, and I think with anything that you're doing, there's an inflection point, and normally when you move from about 3 or 4 staff, I think 7 staff is the critical point. Once you move from 7 staff up to about 20 or 30, at that point, rather than doing a lot of micromanagement, you got to be able to take a step back and let people and resources and processes take control over what's going on. Otherwise, you're going to be stifling the business, and that transition takes time because you've got to train people up, you've got to put the processes in, you've got to test them, and so there's a lot of pinging back and forth between processes until you get it just right. So I'm sure when Amazon started off, they probably had a few staff, and then when they try to move into the next level and then start moving across different states, so scaling up requires different sort of management skills as opposed to being let's say a small organization below 7 to 10 staff.
Okay, so before we continue, there's an interesting question that pops up there about your management skills, and that's probably what people want to know, how to get into your brain, how to get into the psyche of Lakhi Singh so that they can take a nugget away from you and become successful like you are. So a shout out, Danny, John Smith, Bob Singh, as usual, making the Lucky Fixer sign, and we have Ammar Ali as well. That's right, all saying hi and good morning to Lakhi Singh this morning. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Right, so question is, did you have a large team when you were in your property business before the last crash? Did you have the large team then? And how were you managing them, and what type of processes did you have in place?
I had quite a small team of about 7 people. So I had one person that was sourcing properties for me, pretty much full time. And then I had about 4 joint venture partners who were running projects. And then I had small sort of, let's just say, more building teams that would go out and refurbish properties. So in head office, there's only about 4 or 5 key people that are required, because in property companies, you don't need tons and tons of people when you're just involved in property investment. So you just need basically a infrastructure about the decision making and the working methodology of a sourcing investment type company is quite simple. It's not too complicated.
Okay, so you had lots of people in your office, 7, and so you created a process and you had all your staff trained up on this process. So in respect, it was like a smooth, functioning, seamless operation from the back office when you'd get a property or a project come to you. So from that experience, obviously, you've taken lots. Now you're probably using the benefit of all that experience. Now you're using it in your present day business activities, and obviously setting the vision to go forward. So what's the vision, Lakhi? What is the vision now? Where are you taking your business and its strategy?
Well, the last 10, 14 years, we've been developing the knowledge around creating solutions for property problems. So our vision was that we knew at some stage interest rates would go up, and because it's a boom and bust cycle, I don't think it takes much of a genius to work that one out. Some people seem to think that we're geniuses, but reality is that there's thousands of books written about the boom and bust cycles of the sort of Western world. So just based upon that, we've been deriving solutions for property problems. Now, you could call it a coincidence, or you could call it clever planning, or you could call it great mentorship from one of the other senior director I work with, in terms of thinking 10, 15 years ahead and developing, doing the research and development, you could call it, in relation to the property market, and developing 4 or 5 fundamental products which we've re-engineered to ensure anybody that's involved in property and business benefits from our hard spent research to get them out of any type of predicament in the property problem, whether they want to grow, whether they want to redirect what they're doing now because their business model doesn't work, or whether they want to start. So all these things we can do.
Excellent. So what's the vision, though? You're not quite, so it doesn't seem quite clear. Where are you taking?
The vision specifically is
that where are you going?
We're moving into prop tech, and the idea is
prop
to.
Tech, that sounds very techy. What is prop tech?
So prop tech is using technology to create a business model that's scalable, and basically, when you say prop tech, fintech, these are type of small organizations which require a lot of money in the technology, but the potential returns of them are huge. So what we're doing is we're building a platform using Facebook with the alternative business solutions community to create a new way or new dimension of doing business. So we'll be launching that on the 1st of January. So we've been building up our client list and also testing the process by the various Facebook groups and our communities. And we'll be offering lots of property deals to people. So we'll be getting more buyers on our books. But the whole idea is that we want to bring a new way of I'd say, helping the property market to get back on its feet. So there'll be 6 or 7 key elements in that. One of which is that we'll be offering 0% commission. The other of which is, rather than anybody out there now looking for property, rather than be very postcode focused, we want to be solution focused. So if they've got a reason, what is their why? Why do they want something? We want them to be able to answer the question using our algorithm to solve their problem. So, for example, if you're looking for a holiday with TripAdvisor, your problem is you want to find a nice place to go. It's got to maybe, is it going to be self-catering? Is it going to be, by the sea? Is it going to be in Europe or out of Europe? Would you need a visa? What's a rating on all of those things in terms of the quality? Is it a 5-star? Is it a 2-star? What's the experience people had in terms of lots of those categories? Without giving too much away, we will be providing that level of information for anybody looking at property from their why point of view. So if they want to get a property,
you're going to try and make the investor, it's going to be investor-led type of property sales, because the retail market's going to shrink. And what you're doing is you're giving maximum transparent information to an investor for them to give, an informed choice, basically, for them to take a clear decision on whether they want to buy a property. Is that what you're saying in one respect? But where does where does a tech part come in? That's just like you saying, well, on our website, we'll put a star rating on there, 5 or 4 or whatever, and everybody looking at it and say, wow, that's a good investment, excellent. But where does the tech come in? What are you doing that's tech-based for your estate agent?
So the tech would enhance that. So if you're looking for good schools, so the idea would be to provide that enhancement. So if you're looking for the best schools and let's just say the best place to invest, so your criteria can be more focused on the reasons why you want to buy it, as opposed to those things don't exist in the market at the moment. So it's literally creating a new criteria for searching. So it's a new algorithm.
Excellent.
It's quite exciting times, really. I think we're already getting a lot of people, ringing us and asking us, how, I'd really want to get involved. Can we start buying from you? So
excellent.
I'm putting a business plan together now with our team. So there's a lot of people that want to invest into the project as well. So prop tech, if anybody's out there wants to get involved in the prop tech and they want to invest, because I think we could be right up there against Rightmove. Early days, so it might be kind
so that's your competitor.
Rightmove actually may move out of the way, ready for LPA properties.
Excellent. Okay, so happy days when it comes to the vision. So you're moving into prop tech. A lot of people won't know what that is, and I think good idea for people to have a read up about it. So prop tech or property technology. And I assume that includes the reduction of the standard cost, a bit like Purple Bricks, where they take away the additional costs you normally have to bear as a seller to make it very streamlined in the sale cost, especially with those sellers that don't have too much equity in the sale. So tell me, what else have you in the vision, and what is it you're also doing apart from prop tech? Are you doing anything else? Is there any other vision there that you have that you're focusing on and letting the process take care of itself?
As part of the process, we'll be looking to take on 9 offices, including one in London, where the model is that we'll be searching for 10 to 20 flats above a premise, and then we'll be looking to take on the lease underneath. So we're developing and refining the model for that, so that could be self-funding, which is not too far-fetched, because we've already got 6 or 7 companies saying that they like the model, and if something's self-financing even in a market like this, then we are not too far off the mark. So that's going to be literally in Scotland, Newcastle, Manchester, Birmingham, possibly Leeds, Cardiff, and we've got to find a place in London. We're looking at South Kensington, and then Ashford in Kent.
Kent as well. Okay. We've got a shout out from Sonia. Obviously, she is keenly listening into your future vision, Lakhi Singh. Says the new kid on the block, obviously, and LPA Properties, the new prop tech company to take over the market, which is exciting times. And also from Raul, who's liking it and watching us as well. To both people, thank you so much. Right, okay, we're going to move over to the weekly underlying topic. We talked about what's it now, zombie landlords and negative equity and solutions around that, and how to get out of negative equity debt. All well and good. Are the banks changing their criteria, Lakhi, to help people, assist people out of their problems? Do you find that, or is it still business as usual when it comes to the banks?
Well, there's quite a few articles about what Boris is going to do now to deal with a potential slump. So the idea of the current government is that they're throwing a lot of money at solving the problem of a slump. So to counter the slump, one of the things that they're looking at doing is to potentially probably even provide people deposits for purchasing
People
property.
deposits.
Yeah, providing
People
them the equity amount when they're purchasing property, so they don't have to put any money into it.
Okay.
So I think so myself and Bob Singh were discussing it yesterday, that the likelihood is that they're going to try and pump in a lot more money into the housing market to keep it ramped up. But one of the issues that we think they're going to come up against is that they've only got a finite amount of money. They can't sort of continuously pumping money that they haven't got.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time before they have to pull the plug on some of these things, but they're not necessarily sustainable. So the sustainability issue is there, but the economy now is suffering massively, and for it to come out without any cuts or bruises is, how do you say, is going to be more or less impossible. So I think there's a lot of panic in the streets of town. Even catching a cab yesterday, somebody told me, the taxi driver said to me that what's going to happen, because we're not it seems to be getting quieter. It's actually quieter. It's the quietest day he's had since the start of COVID-19 in March. And
Quietest day, what does that mean? Quietest day in terms of a taxi
meaning
driver?
that he's had there's hardly anybody in the streets, and he's hardly had any customers.
All right, is that mainly because people are back in their offices and kids are now back at school, or what is it?
No, I think a lot of people aren't really traveling into London now, so the offices are still empty. I mean,
so what was the worst period you had in terms of office and the environment in London? Has it been eerier than this, or is it now as quiet as you've ever seen it? Is it like an early Sunday morning? Is it in London?
I think we have got 2,400 people in there. I think at its quietest, I think there's only about 5 people, maybe 10 people coming into the offices during the lockdown. And now, and near the end of lockdown, I think there's about 20, 30 people coming in. And now I think you've got maybe about 50, 60 people coming into our offices. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's doubled up. But a lot of the offices are empty, and all the lot of the serviced offices are completely empty, and they're getting 1 or 2 new tenants every month, but the 90% of the offices are empty in our floor. Yeah. And so there's I'm not sure how they're actually managing to really pay their bills and survive. I think maybe they're surviving off contingency or some sort of government grant that I'm not aware of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's become very eerie, and you're saying, obviously, is this a quiet before the storm? Then is it going to get worse again? Is it going to be a virus that's going to affect the economy? Is that what's going to drag the economy down, or is it going to be something else?
Well, I think the sheer impact of the, let's just say, businesses not being able to operate, a lot of businesses closing down, is actually a problem in itself. So I'm not too sure really whether the economy can take such a big hit. So something's got to give somewhere. So I think everybody should just be prepared for the unexpected. So if you've got a property portfolio, or you've got a business, be prepared for a bank calling you saying, sorry, we're pulling the loan. And if you've got a buy-to-let portfolio, you may find you're coming to the end of a term on your mortgage, and the bank may say, sorry, you're not at the end of your term yet, but we noticed that you've got quite a high loan to value on your properties, but we'd like you to bring the debt down by selling your other assets and reducing your loan to value. So all these things
okay,
are...
tell me now. Okay, just tell me now, Lakhi. I know we've had a first 10, 15 years inning has been really bad, where a lot of people have lost. It was the first wave, you could say, of the losses on the property market. What you have now is lots of mid net worth and high net worth people sitting on the fence, waiting for some good news. What's the good news that people should be listening out to? Maxine Grims, good morning to you. She said hi. And Mr. Khan as well says good morning and have a lovely week as well. So shout out to you guys as well. Yes, there are a lot of people listening in and they're probably looking for some hope. What is it that you can offer, Lakhi? What should they do? Should they pick up the phone to Lakhi Singh, the property fixer? Can you direct them? Can you give them assistance? Can you at least
I think
some of their problems?
I think there's an old saying which is it's all in the planning, and if you start now thinking ahead about what the implications are, that's a good start, because you need to take action. And I think a lot of people are probably, I'm thinking what's happening is that majority of people are definitely not really thinking about the consequences or where everything's going, because it's too much to handle. So if they've had a good run for the last 10, 20 years thinking, all right, I've made my millions, then the issue is that that in itself is going to be the problem. They're going to be thinking, I've made my millions, but how do I keep my millions? What do I need to do? So they need to do...
Are there a lot of people out there who are asset rich and cash poor, Lakhi? Or is it now a market where people are cash rich but asset poor? Cam says that obviously there's going to be a big problem with the government with all the bounce back loans and the furloughs, which aren't going to go anywhere because it's not propping up the economy properly. And I think the furloughs and the bounce back loans are all being done with money that's being printed for the purpose of keeping the economy going. It's not real money. It's fractional lending or quantitative easing, as they call it in the United Kingdom. So a lot of people talking about the fact that this is all fake printed money that's been pumped in. But unless the economy doesn't really jumpstart, it's all going to affect everyone even worse. So yes, so tell me, what do they do? What can you suggest? Those people sitting on the fence, wanting some support.
Okay, number one, what they've got to do is, before they do anything, is start looking after their health, because the psychology around what's happening is that a lot of people are getting into fight or flight mode. And you shouldn't really be in that position, because you're going to definitely make a mistake when you're not thinking sharp. So one of the first things I realized that I need to do, because obviously I'm also part of the process that's impacted by COVID-19, so it does affect everybody. And I suppose if you've got your loved ones that potentially could suffer, so if you've got elderly parents or anybody vulnerable because they've got some sort of ailment, they're more likely to be on a high risk list. So I think the first thing is to just focus in on your health. Morning, Mohsin, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Mr. Mohsin Rafjani, sir. You were well awaited, been expecting you. And tell us where you've been. What is it that you're doing? Don't tell us too much if it's sensitive. Why were you kept from attending the 8 o'clock in the morning? You doing something important, or?
One of my most important morning rituals is to go and see my children and do the school run.
Right, okay.
I've been doing them for over 25 years now.
Excellent. You must be an expert. Bit like
I mean, because they don't live with me, they live with a mum, so it's very important to have daily contact and to share that relationship and grow it. Yeah.
Excellent. So your early morning ritual is now complete, I assume?
No. Now I'll be going to run an exercise after this. So
excellent. Exercise.
So great to be with you guys.
Excellent. So you're following the same type of routine that Lakhi Singh follows, except his kids are too big to be picked up physically and in the car. I think they make their own way to school, do they, in college, Lakhi Singh?
That's right. I think might be a bit difficult trying to give them a piggyback to school or something.
Sure.
They may not really appreciate that in front of their friends.
Excellent. Okay, Mohsin, so you obviously, I gave a brief introduction, but then obviously give us an overview of what it is you are doing and how it is you're helping homeless people, because I know you do a lot of work around social housing, but it's a slightly more comprehensive solution than shelter and companies like that. This is more integrated, and you take the best of I think about a good 4 or 5 different organizations, and you assist people to get back into work and get back into paid living. So give us a feel of what you're doing. What is it you're doing? And is your market getting more busier? It could be that on your side it's getting busier.
Absolutely, indeed it is. What we basically do is we focus on, in the UK right now, we have over 8 million people 1 month away from becoming homeless.
Why 1 month away? Why is it a month away? Why not 3 months away?
Because of their savings and their and their job security levels.
Mm-hmm.
So they're right on that brink. And if any of our listeners or yourselves have been there, it becomes very stressful. You get anxiety, stress, depression, and even the brink of suicide when you get to this certain point in life. And because the days are so dark, you can't see any light whatsoever. Even if the solution is right in front of your nose, you can't see it. However, people around you possibly can. And the solutions aren't that difficult either. They're pretty simple, as Lakhi and yourself know. Stopping repossession is not the greatest skill in the world. It's a simple thing to do, but it's a process that needs doing. And when you're in that state, you cannot think that, I need to go to the court, I need to fill in an N244, I need to go and speak to the mortgage lender and then talk about this particular case versus this particular case and use that as a precedent, right? There's no way they can even contemplate any of that. They're too busy, unfortunately, ending up in domestic violence, because that's actually increased during COVID and when these happen as well.
Really bad.
Children in families suffer. They suffer in silence. I'm a trained mental health counselor volunteer on a platform called Shout, which is like the Samaritans, except it's a text platform. And Prince William is part of that, and he's our patron. So I met him last November as well, and his wife Kate. And we spoke about how our platform helps veterans who are suffering from PTSD, who are homeless, and just need some sort of way out. Because the ways out, as I said, aren't that difficult. But
have you? It's interesting, Mohsin, you said that. I didn't mean to cut you in when you're talking. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Have you had your eye on the US market, where they've actually started to build tent villages outside of the main cities. Have you heard of that? Do you know
Yes,
if that's going to be a similar thing to what's happening in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, we actually work with one of the government advisors who is in America, who actually.
In a tent village?
Sorry?
He's in a tent village.
Yes, and his responsibility and job is to actually alleviate in his community this tent village setup, and then focus on social inclusion with all the agencies around him that can actually make a difference. So that's what he does. He's had a 85% success rate. His name is Kevin. You can find him on LinkedIn. He's part of our.
Excellent. He'd be an excellent person for us to have a chat with. I think it'd be good to get to know what he's doing. Is it? And it's also true. I think recently, American state offices, they are going around with a mind to creating low-cost housing as well. The type of thing you probably find in the third world, when you're trying to give people a sense of ownership and self-respect and determination, that they've actually started to build these small, low-cost pod houses, which I think work out at about, is it about $60,000 or $70,000, and they're being asked to pay a small nominal rental income of about, I think it's about $7 is it, or it's $70, I think, a month, and they actually pay towards the purchase. And after a 10 or 15-year span, apparently they're supposed to then have the right to purchase the asset. And it's a small housing pod, I think, and not worth more than $70,000 US. Is that correct? Is this what's? And this is
okay. I don't know about that particular project, but I'm sure that sounds sensible and it sounds very feasible, because I know here in the UK we're looking at similar projects, and there are containers. You know, the shipping containers. There are quite a few projects already that actually utilize shipping containers and turn them into habitable homes. For homeless projects. One of my friends, Dan Atkins, he uses buses for exactly the same thing. He's got 4 buses. Yeah, it's called Buses for Homeless. And,
which buses are they using? Are they using the old red bus, or are they taking new buses like Boris Johnson's fiberglass bus?
No, they are old, disused, out of use bus, double-decker buses. So you have one bus that sleeps 16 people, right?
One bus,
Yeah, so they're all fitted out to sleep 16 people.
So it's like a bunk bed environment.
Yeah,
it's like an HMO of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one bus does the sleeping, one bus becomes a kitchen and the dining upstairs. One bus becomes an education unit with computers, laptops, and things of that nature, and training happens in there. And then one bus is for holistic support, mental health.
So it's like a bus village.
It is a bus village. It's in Acton. If anyone wants to go, Google Dan Acton and buses.
Acton, it's so surprising to think this is in the heart of the city, and I bet you lots of people don't know about it. And is it a permanent?
I used to live in Acton.
Is it permanent dwelling, Mohsen, or is it sort of mobile? Does it move around and get people back into some normality and then drive off and leave them behind waving?
No, these are static homes, and it's a static project and they're hooked up with HS2, right? And
you mean like they are physically hooked up and they will move with HS2, or do you mean that they are?
What they do is they get people who are homeless, who are interested in going back into work and social inclusion again, and they train them to be skilled engineers for the HS2 project.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and do these are the buses MOT? Do they have to have an MOT, or are they without MOT?
No, it's like a village, the static units.
Okay, and I assume the tires are flat then?
Sorry?
I assume the tires are flattened?
Well, it's a static village for training of individuals, giving them accommodation, giving them training, and then giving them a job at the end of it with HS2 and the Department of Pensions and the government.
How many people apply for this, or do they get sort of sponsored, or is it random? Anybody turns up who doesn't have?
It's a 32-week project. So they have 32 weeks to get the individuals through this particular project, and it's like a revolving door type of situation. And if they don't get through to the project, then what they do is that they help them with other community housing options out there.
Excellent.
So it's like a homelessness to employment type model.
Exactly.
So literally from poverty to employment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Martin, the question is, why a bus? Why not?
Because
why not dedicated units or something? Why not office space and converted into living accommodation with all the same units that you've got in? But why a bus?
Cost effective.
Okay, so how is this going to ring when it comes into prop tech? Okay, can you see the future in renting out buses for the purpose of housing? Is there a market there, do you think?
That utilize buses simply because it's a low cost entry to a good solution, because it's all social inclusion and getting them back into some community and getting them into employment and get them to be contributors of the system again.
Okay, and who funds this? Who's funding this?
A guy called Dan Atkins is
Dan Atkins.
So if you go to our platform, changeahead.org.uk, at the bottom you see all our partners, and so these are partners who will actually make a positive impact to homelessness and supporting homelessness and the challenges like mental health, jobs, inclusion, training. So all these organizations that we work with, Compassion London, who will give you food, free food. They've served over 400,000 meals since COVID began in London to the vulnerable, key workers, school children who have been at home, but because the domestic budget doesn't accommodate a second meal for them, they actually give food for the children. So these are the type of organizations we work with on our platform. Okay,
Lakhi, what do you say to this? Is this something that you could look at, seeing that you've got your eye on a vision, becoming a prop tech? Where does the market go with these type of unique cells? Can they be incorporated in a prop tech? For example, could you have an inclusion there for people who are homeless to be looking for buses that they can go and sleep in? And
well, I think it's definitely a good idea, and I think the way it could work is if it's more of a case of I think it'd be a very good idea to actually work with these organizations, because we're called the Alternative Business Property and Business Solutions Community, and obviously if you're offering an alternative way for eradicating homelessness, then definitely it deserves a place on the PropTech platform for people to be made aware of this particular service, because there will be awareness is probably the first step, isn't it, Mohsin? You said?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, and are you saying this market, you said 8 million people who are 1 month away from being homeless, are they going to be in that condition that they're going to have to look at a bus to rehouse themselves? What about those people with families? What happens with them? And by the way, we have a Cam and Sonia, who are giving a big shout out to you, Mohsin, for the work you're doing. Obviously, they admire the cause, and obviously the fact that you are a gentleman with a cause-led business. So, what about families? What about families?
Yeah. Families. I mean, the solution for families is basically people like yourself and Lakhi who can step in and help them with their financial well-being, to do an audit, to say, hey guys, what's the problem? See, the thing is, we have these 8 million people, as I've said, who have this anxiety, stress, and they can't see beyond their nose.
8 million.
Right? 8 million. Now, on the flip side,
people, okay, quick, before we continue, 8 million. Mohsin, 8 million. Are these low-income earners, mid-income earners, or are they across the whole spectrum?
Across the whole spectrum. There could be doctors, there could be anyone. There could be people, especially now with the furlough and all of this type of thing. For example, right now we have over 5,000 jobs at risk with Cineworld. From Thursday, from tomorrow, they're closing all the Cineworlds around the world. Okay, so therefore you've got over 5,000 jobs at risk. You've got 250,000 jobs, 250 shops closing at H&M. So you've got retailers, right? So these are families, these are people. And so it's across the board. There's no...
Mohsin, I was going to say it's a bit like a bad movie.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be every which way we lose. Okay, Cam, again, says, why not use containers instead of buses, which is obviously something that is being done. And Sonia, again, says the same, and she's giving a shout out to the fact that it's an excellent project. Is it only in London, she says, or is this across the country?
All over the country. All over the country. In fact, all over the world. And there are lots of projects all over the world that use alternative housing options just for a step up, right? This is not the solution for someone to live permanently. This is a temporary solution whilst they get their education, whilst they get the drugs rehab done, whilst they get the substance abuse resolved, right? So this is a temporary option whilst they sort themselves out, whilst the permanent solution is being prepared.
What's the permanent solution then? What are you doing on the permanent side then?
On the permanent solution, we're working with developers on modular buildings as well.
Okay, yeah. So the modular buildings will come into play. And are they on a mortgage? Are they on a rental scheme? Are they on the rental scheme? And are they affordable rental scheme?
Absolutely, yeah. Because we work with registered providers as well. So the housing associations with profits and without profits as well. So we work with quite a few housing association registered providers. And so they look after the housing benefit side of things. And then most people we find, the ones that we work with, need some sort of wraparound care. So we work with CQC and non-CQC care providers in supported living. So they need some support. When you go through all of that trauma, it is trauma. When you go through all that trauma, you need some sort of support. Even for a
can you tell me then, what's the timeline then? How long does it take for someone to come into that bus, get a bed, get their head straightened out in terms of know what they want, or get counseling, get mentored and counseling, and then by the time they've gone to the last bus, are they ready to get back to work?
Indeed they are, yeah, absolutely.
How many months?
3 months.
3 month cycle.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you, so the buses one is 3 months because they need training for the HS2 projects, right? But if you look at, say, someone like SHP, Single Homeless People, now they are in London. They have a 28-day program. So if you're homeless, you're recommended by the local authorities. You go into the 28-day program, and within the 28 days, what they do is they help and process you to a permanent solution. The permanent solution could be a small wraparound care. It could be independent living, supported living, and then a private landlord or a local authority or housing association.
Could I ask you a question then? Is it going to be, Lakhi Singh, for you? This is from Mohsin, because Mohsin knows what he's talking about. Have you looked at the incorporation of this particular side of housing and support care in the prop tech? Are you including this? Is it going to be 8 million people? Is a lot of people to be servicing out there? And can you see the local housing authority being able to deal with this fallout?
Well, what I'd say is that obviously this, whatever Mohsin is doing, goes above and beyond sort of business. It's actually more like charity work, because you're really helping the vulnerable, the poor, needy, potentially people that are on the verge of suicide potentially, to get back on their feet. So it's not really.
Is that the case?
I wouldn't really call it
on the verge of suicide. Is that true? They're on the verge of suicide, or are they?
The majority of so I mean, I'll give you a more kind of realistic example. We have in the UK to over 9 million people combating loneliness. That is, again, anxiety, stress, depression, and suicides. Now, that these people are not anything to do with homelessness. These are just normal people in a normal life, be it married, unmarried, with a job or no job, but they are lonely. Okay, so what we do is we train them to be volunteers on our platform, to be the supporters and mentors for the 8 million facing the anxieties of 1 month away from becoming homeless. So therefore, we're able to help with the mental health of the 8 million on one side and the 7 million on the other side, all on one platform, by providing a peer-to-peer support mechanism. And that's the way Lakhi is right. That's where the charity bit comes in, because that is the solution that is lacking in the governmental systems of providing homes and everything else. All the wonderful work they do is brilliant. Public health is fantastic. Housing is fantastic. But the missing piece is the human. They've taken the human out of the equation and only dealt with the actual bits, whatever that bit is. So once you look at it from a holistic approach, then you find the best solution possible for the individual person and whatever their needs are.
Okay, we've got Neil Soha. I think making an interesting point. He said it's quite difficult, and this I think is a general point. People will probably heard this saying many times. You cannot help somebody who's not willing to help themselves.
100%.
Now, and he's saying the important point: very difficult to help somebody who's not willing even to go to their physician, doctor, and talk about that. So how do you counter that? How do you replace that? Are these people permanently displaced? Are they sort of like no longer on the grid, on the system? Have they fallen through it? Do they not have a national insurance number anymore? Are they not getting benefits? Are they not going to bother to go and claim their benefits so they can even afford a single bedroom flat? Why are they not on the system? Why are they not going to seek?
Okay, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And if you go to changeahead.org.uk, which is our platform, you'll see a pyramid. And on that pyramid, you'll see there's 9 million people at the bottom, which are the ones facing loneliness, combating loneliness. You'll see the next. Sorry?
Who's at the top of the pyramid?
Yeah. So the next 8 million is 8 million who are 1 month away from homelessness. The next is the 324,000 who are in the system of homelessness. That's in the refugees and asylum seekers and people who are single moms or whatever it might be, right? Living in guest houses, bed and breakfasts, and things of that nature.
Okay,
right?
so you got 350,000 there. Next up on the ladder?
Next is the 9,000 people sleeping on the streets every night.
Okay, and then next up on that ladder?
That's it. That is the top. 9,000.
Right, so you've got, if you're honest about it, you're saying about 8.5 million, or say 400,000 who are totally out of the system, who are either on the street or they are homeless, about to go out of the streets, sleeping on someone's couch or sharing in a room somewhere. And then on the bottom of the ladder, what is the expected stats on the 8 million who are one paycheck away from becoming homeless? Because these people, I assume, a lot of those are the ones who are on the furloughs and those who are going to effectively feel the pinch once the government pulls the furlough scheme. What is it that's going to happen? Why are they not claiming? Why are they not going to job seekers and trying to get income support for their families and try and get housing benefit? Why are they not doing that, Mohsin? Please tell me.
They are, but the system isn't designed efficiently with the customer in mind. It's designed for the government in mind to do their administrational tasks, whatever that might be. So it's failing the individual for them to understand it's not a smooth, easy process to claim. So that's why we have the peer-to-peer platform to help them, handhold them virtually to make those claims and to get from homeless to wellness. That's what the company is called.
Listen, we've got last 2 minutes left. I think we're going to have to call you back because this is a big topic in itself. It's frightening.
Yeah.
It's also somewhat damning. And behind the face, how many people have you got working with you? How many people are working in this organization?
We have over 20 professional advisors, professors, mental health professors, housing advisors, mental health.
Are they doing it voluntarily?
Yes, everyone is a volunteer at this stage. One of the things that I can share with you today, it's not official yet, but we've been approached by a massive organization, the University of Edinburgh, linked to the University of Edinburgh, who are data scientists who want to work with us and learn how we can do preventative measures through data science on our platform, capturing data to help people to nip this in the bud and fold time. So whatever their anxiety and stress is actually reduced. If that's reduced, their mental health is better.
Yeah, we're going to hold you there because we've only got about a minute left. We're going to flip over to Lakhi Singh and ask, Lakhi, is there not really an issue? Is it all mental and spiritual? I know you're very spiritual and you rather like to look at things from a deeper position. Even your business has an essence of being human. So you're always looking to help people rather than look at the bottom line. Is it that religion is missing in society now? You know, remember Tony Blair saying, we don't do religion. But is it that there is no spiritual realm left in developed countries and they don't have the essence of God or being godly that makes them, depresses them and shows them a system that's faulty, basically? Lakhi Singh?
Well, I think a lot of, if you go back to about 20 years ago, when the Thatcher years, when the sort of yuppie era was there. I think prior to that, I don't think we were really in this type of situation at all. And I think Mohsin may agree or disagree, but I think a lot of the system and how it's been opened up, it's been set up in a way that is very secular. It creates a lot of silos and cuts people off. So it breaks up families. So the system in itself is actually flawed to a point, but also the boom and bust cycle of any economy is actually also the problem. So that's what I would say about it. But
okay, we're going to continue this conversation next time with Mohsin. Mohsin, we're going to ask the team to give you a call and book in another, because you've got, again, like some of our very special guests, you've also, in my eyes, become a VIP in your own right. You're a person, I think, with lots more to tell us. We will invite you back. We'll have another session with you again tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Lakhi Singh, the drive time session with the property fixer, alternative business and property solution with Lakhi Singh. Thank you so much, Lakhi Singh. And Mohsin, take care.
Okay, guys.